Photoshop and Earth curvature. For centuries, the conflict between supporters of the flat Earth model, claiming centrality of the universe, and supporters of the spherical model with the centrality of the Sun, did not abate. It continued until the Americans claimed to have ascended the Moon and filmed the Earth from space, supposedly ending the debate. However, some have not stopped spreading falsehoods and defending the flat Earth model. They have become the center of ridicule, making their beliefs a laughingstock for those who trust NASA's scientific findings. As a result, many have abandoned their belief in a flat Earth, but some still vehemently oppose the spherical model of the Earth. They claim it to be the greatest misinformation in human history, but their voices have been marginalized by the media controlled by the elite, preventing widespread dissemination of their views. After all, NASA now has images of the Earth from space, which can silence anyone who questions the Earth's spherical shape, right? The reality, however, is that there is not a single authentic image of the planet Earth from space. Don't be amazed, as all the images you see of the globe are CGI images, manipulated, painted, and photoshopped. Even NASA admits to this without shame, as NASA worker Rob Simon states. It's Photoshop, but Earth has to be. On the other hand, you can verify that there is not a single genuine picture of the Earth. If someone sends you a photo of a professional wrestler claiming it's their own, how can you confirm if it's real or fake? If the person is a liar, they could have simply brought a picture of a wrestler and pasted his own head onto it to make it seem like he is that person. The process of pasting an image over another image can be detected by examining the image in Photoshop and raising the color levels, revealing fringes around the pasted picture that expose the forgery process. Now, visit NASA's official website, download any image of the Earth from space, and apply these steps to it. And you will discover that all of their images, without exception, have been manipulated, raising a dangerous red flag that should awaken our critical thinking if we want to discern the truth. Even more intriguing, if you scrutinize NASA's famous image of the planet, Big Blue Marble, you will uncover that it is a computer-generated image, photoshopped, and even utilizes the clone tool to replicate identical clouds. They were described as lazy, according to the researchers. Moreover, if you flip this image of Earth upside down, you will notice a hidden but apparent message, the word sex, which is purportedly used in various media, including animated films, as a subliminal message. However, this time it appears disguised in a presumed genuine image of Earth that NASA has posted on its official website. This Earth, with circumference of 40,000 kilometers and a diameter of 6,371 kilometers, means that its surface, mathematically speaking, should bend by approximately 20 centimeters every 1.6 kilometers, around 80 centimeters after 3.2 kilometers, 2 meters after 8 kilometers, and about half a kilometer after 80 kilometers, in order to conform to its spherical shape. This curvature is important in the mathematical equation, 20 centimeters x squared distance, to achieve the spherical shape, and the entire surroundings of Earth are depicted as a complete sphere. These calculations are based on data from NASA, which lead us to conclude that objects 8 kilometers away should disappear behind the curvature about 2 meters away from the observer's perspective. In simpler terms, if there is an object that is 2 meters high, it should not be visible from 8 kilometers away, as it would have disappeared behind the curve. But, believe it or not, this is not actually happening. This curvature is not observed by anyone, neither from Earth nor from space. All the images and videos shown by space agencies of Earth from great altitudes are captured with a fisheye lens that distorts the perception of curvature. For instance, on October 14, 2012, a Norwegian adventurer named Felix Baumgartner completed the longest free fall in history after ascending to 40 kilometers with a helium balloon and then jumping back to Earth. Regardless of whether this jump was a genuine event or a hoax, what matters is that the camera inside the cockpit at the moment of the jump showed a completely straight skyline of Earth, while the camera outside appeared to show a curved horizon due to the fisheye lens. The curvature of the Earth has not been seen by anyone, and no one will see it because it is nothing more than an illusion. Researchers have challenged anyone to photograph this curvature or prove its existence through experiments. This prompted researcher Stephen Hawking to conduct and document a scientific experiment using a laser beam to prove that the Earth is curved. He proceeded from the hypothesis that if a laser beam source is installed at a height of half a meter, at a certain distance from that source, the beam could be captured to find that it recorded a higher altitude. As the beam is straight, monitoring it would reveal a bend with the ground after a certain distance from its source. Indeed, Hawking and his team were able to demonstrate through experimentation that the beam recorded a height, and thus the ground was curved. However, skeptical minds seeking the truth cannot accept such an important experiment without repeating it to confirm it, as doubts may arise. Hawking installed the laser source at 82 centimeters on the shore of Balaton Lake, Hungary, and then set off with his boat 3 miles away, only to discover that the beam recorded an altitude of 182 centimeters. This result seems illogical when referring to NASA's calculations about the Earth's spherical curvature. According to those calculations, the beam should have registered a height of 4 meters and 87 centimeters, not just 182 centimeters. The researchers repeated the experiment, but this time they placed the laser source at 48 centimeters and traveled 3 kilometers away with their boat. Surprisingly, the beam did not record any height, indicating that the surface of the lake was perfectly level and did not bend with the alleged spherical curvature. This finding makes a lot of sense, because people on the shore of Balaton Lake can see people on the other shore almost 10 kilometers away. If the Earth was truly curved, they would not be able to see each other, and people on the other shore would have disappeared completely behind the curve. So, who's right? The first one goes against his calculations, which defy logic and expose his lie, while the second one relies on his belief in logic. You can conduct the experiment yourself to verify, or use your critical thinking skills to embark on a journey of seeking truth, which clearly indicates that we inhabit a flat plane, not a spherical ball as we've been told. There are instances where we can see objects at great distances, despite the assumption that they should be hidden from view if the Earth were curved. For instance, the Statue of Liberty is a 100-meter statue, yet it can be seen from a distance of nearly 96 kilometers, even though it should be obscured by the 600-meter curvature of a spherical Earth. Lighthouses provide compelling evidence in this regard. The Dunkirk Lighthouse in southern France stands 59 meters tall and can be seen from 45 kilometers away, despite the fact that it should vanish behind the curve at 57 meters. Similarly, the Port Said Lighthouse in Egypt, which stands at 56 meters, is visible from a distance of 93 kilometers, while it should have disappeared behind the supposed 665-meter curvature. The lighthouse on the English island of Wight, measuring 54 meters in height, is visible from 67 kilometers away, despite the expectation that it should disappear behind the curve by about 300 meters. Furthermore, the base of this island forms a straight line that spans 35 kilometers in width, whereas it should curve downward on both sides to conform to the spherical curvature of the Earth, resulting in a width of only 24 meters. However, all measurements indicate that the surface of the water remains perfectly level at the base of the island. Similar observations can be made at the North Wales Beach Lake, which can be seen from a distance of 80 kilometers from a plateau near the port of Douglas on the Isle of Man. The other side of the lake appears perfectly level, despite the expectation of a downward curvature of 126 meters. Finally, a man was able to capture a photograph of the city of Chicago from the other side of Michigan Lake, despite claims by the media that it was merely a mirage of the city. However, such rare weather conditions necessary for a mirage are not consistent with the fact that many others have captured the same scene at different times and under different weather conditions. The truth is that they were not capturing a mirage, but rather looking across a flat surface. These are just a few examples among many that challenge the conventional understanding of the Earth's shape. But, let's travel back to 1800, where a rather famous experiment called the Bedford Level Experiment took place. An astronomer named Samuel Rowbottom went to the Bedford Channel, a water channel located in Britain that is 10 kilometers long in a straight line, and set up a telescope 20 centimeters from the surface of the canal. He then moved a boat with a flag mounted on it about 9.5 kilometers away from the telescope. The result was that Rowbottom, through his telescope, saw the boat and the banner throughout this distance, which, according to the spherical curvature of the Earth, does not make sense. Rowbottom should have seen the boat disappear behind the curve by about 5 meters. If the Earth was a ball, the water in the canal should have bent to follow this curvature in order to maintain a consistent level. Why didn't the water in the canal bend and disappear from the observer's view? Why doesn't the water in Siberia's Lake Baikal form a hump when it freezes in winter, becoming the flattest place on Earth with a length of over 600 kilometers and a width of 79 kilometers? According to the spherical curvature, the ice should bulge from the middle by about 32 meters. So why doesn't that happen? Why do we always see water in seas and lakes at the surface level? And why do engineers and architects who dig canals, build bridges, or construct railways over large distances not take into account the spherical curvature of the Earth in their calculations? The Verrazano-Narrows Bridge is perhaps the only bridge for which engineers took the curvature of the Earth into account during its construction. However, strangely, the water underneath it appears as a perfectly level surface, instead of following the curve of the bridge itself, which would be expected if the Earth was a dome. Furthermore, according to the laws of physics, the surface of water is always level, and this is what we see with our eyes and perceive with our senses and minds. However, if the Earth is truly spherical, this law would need to be broken, as the water would need to form a curved surface, which is not observed in reality. In Bolivia, there is an area called Salar de Uyuni, which is a salt flat of over 10,500 square meters. When it rains, the salt flat does not form puddles of water, but rather becomes an ideal large level mirror, whereas it would be expected to form a convex mirror to follow the curvature of the land, which is surprising. In a 2003 study conducted by the Geography Department of Texas American University, it was established that Texas is a flat land, more than a pie, extending over a distance of more than 640 kilometers. This is not an exaggeration or a humorous analogy, but rather a surface-level terrain that had to be bent from one end to the other by 32 kilometers. So, where is the Earth's curvature? Is it what we see from aircraft windows? In fact, the belief that what we see from aircraft windows is the curvature of the Earth's skyline is false. The glass on aircraft windows is curved to fit into the fuselage, which creates a distorted view. The claim that ships disappear into the sea from the bottom up due to the curvature of the Earth is also false. This would mean that we could see the curvature with our eyes only 5 kilometers away, where vessels disappear. However, as Neil deGrasse Tyson has pointed out, we cannot see the curvature even from the height of an airplane because the Earth is so big. If you observe a ship disappearing beyond the sea skyline, you can use a powerful telescope or a camera with high zoom power to see that the ship has not disappeared and is back in your line of sight. But the dilemma arises when the ship inevitably disappears beyond what can be seen with any high zoom lens device. Does this mean that it has disappeared behind the curvature of the Earth? In fact, the reason is the same as the reason for the absence of the sun and the moon, a wonderful reason that many have never thought of before, but to seek the traveler to that new wonderland. We need a plane.